Chapter 107, Trial by Blood. Date 30-30-80, second quarter. Chalice Theocracy. Aris stood in the dust-choked cavern, his voice raw from shouting.
Damn it, you insolent, zealous NPCs. Fuck all of you.
His leg throbbed where Sliver's whip thorns had carved through muscle during their initial confrontation before the earthquake. The pain radiated up through his hip with every heartbeat. He cast Curing Touch, charging it to maximum feeling. The warm radiance knit flesh back together. The pain dulled to an ache, then faded to a distant memory.
How did no stone fall on me?
The thought chilled him more than the dark. His luck title. It had protected him while killing Findar. The same fortune that had saved his life had ended another's. He pushed the guilt down, buried it beneath urgency. Aris cast Featherfall on Sliver's unconscious form and lifted her carefully. She weighed almost nothing with the spell. Active, her golden hair trailing limply as he adjusted his grip. He glanced at Findar's bisected corpse, the blood already pooling dark in the stone cracks. The massive stalactite had cleaved through armor and bone alike. There was no condition to carry him, no chance to save what was already gone. Aris turned toward the only path forward and walked deeper into the dungeon. The tunnel walls pressed close, slick with moisture and covered in phosphorescent moss that cast everything in sickly green. His boots squelched through puddles that smelled of copper and rot. The ceiling dripped constantly, cold water running down the back of his neck. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a semi-lit rocky chamber. A dueling ring glowed faintly in the center, runes etched along its perimeter pulsing with arcane light. The stone floor was worn smooth from countless feet, countless battles. 3 figures stood in the shadows at the far end, waiting.
We quit, you hear us? We quit.
One figure started walking forward, footsteps deliberate and unhurried. The figure reached the middle of the arena, its featureless face catching the dim light.
Take 2 wins and move forward.
No, we quit, let us out.
But the figure already drew a blade, taking a fighting stance that made Aris's stomach drop.
Let us out, she needs serious help.
They won't let you. You think Chalice is built on pity and solidarity? Think again.
Who are you? If you're hearing us, we withdraw. Take us out. I can't win this dungeon alone.
Oh, I'm just an observer. I have no control over it.
Then call your boss, someone in charge. Findar is dead. She's dying.
I saw the incident. Giant misfortune and excellent timing. Good job, apprentice of Nebu.
Who are you? How do you know my master?
That voice. He'd heard it before. Where? The memory tugged at him, elusive and frustrating.
I can't help you, Aris. Can't call anyone without exposing myself. Fight until you collapse, then they'll take you when the sweeping time comes. But if you win, I have a gift for you.
Aris reluctantly took a step toward the ring, then stopped. He turned back to Sliver's unconscious form and noticed her staff lying beside her, and her small buckler. Both had intricate runes etched into the wood and metal with focusing stones embedded in matching patterns that seemed to drink in the ambient light.
Sorry, I need these. These are really good equipment.
He pulled out one of his blood-mixed stat potions and downed it in one gulp. Fire exploded through his veins, force and manifest surging higher. His muscles tensed with newfound strength, his vision sharpening until he could count the individual runes on the arena floor. Aris walked into the ring, cast Minor Shield onto the buckler, and waited for his opponent. The figure resolved into clarity as it stepped into the light. A tall human, lean and fit with 2 daggers drawn. The stance made Aris's breath catch. He knew that stance. He'd seen it countless times in sparring sessions.
Ready?
Go for it.
The opponent exploded forward with unusual speed for a dagger user, closing the gap in heartbeats. Aris cast Radiant Convergence. The sphere of light manifested above Sliver's staff, crackling with power. He sent missiles and flares streaming out, forcing the attacker to weave left. Exactly where Aris wanted him. He'd learned this from watching Oryx spar. Lure, right kick, left. The attacker closed within striking range, but lost momentum dodging. Aris unleashed a front kick powered by level 36 force and blood potion enhancement. But the opponent half-turned, expecting it, and landed a quick jab with his piercing knife into Aris's right abdomen. Pain flared white-hot. Aris lost concentration on both minor shield and radiant convergence, the spells guttering out like snuffed candles.
That move. That's Auric's counter.
Aris had never been fast enough to spar properly with his wolfkin friend, but he'd watched Gumo use the same feint, and Auric had countered exactly like this. Aris squinted at the remaining shadowed figures. Who were these people? Copies? Constructs? Something worse?
If he's like Auric, he won't let me charge spells. But I have better stats now.
The opponent lunged again. Right step left, step duck rising slash from low to high.
Not just like Auric. This IS Auric's pattern. Before I could never match your speed or strength, but now I'm better in every stat.
He took one step forward and swung the staff with both hands. The opponent tried to block with crossed daggers, but Aris's swing shattered through the defense, the force of level 36 force behind it. The daggers flew from the copy's hands, clattering across the stone floor.
Holy smite?
Golden lightning erupted from above, hammering down on the weaponless opponent. The figure convulsed once and collapsed, dissolving into shimmering particles that drifted upward like fireflies. Aris tried to reach out to help somehow, but the body was already gone. Nothing remained but fading light. The second figure walked forward from the shadows. A halfling girl. Aris immediately recognized the stance and robes. Rank 9, Yelena, the halfling priest mage who dominated ranged combat throughout the dueling season.
So they kept your race as is. Sorry, but assassins were my bad matchup. Mages? With this witness stone, you're the easiest.
Yelena began casting hands, weaving complex patterns. Fire bloomed between her palms. Aris charged, using his enhanced agility to close the distance before she could finish. She barely got the spell off and a gout of flame singed his shoulder. Before she could recover, he swung the staff two-handed into her left side. The crack echoed through the chamber. Her arm bent at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. But she stood back up with zero pain on her face and began casting with her left hand alone, the broken arm dangling uselessly at her side.
Of course, you don't feel pain.
Aris dodged the fire ray that scorched the ground where he'd stood and swung again, this time aiming for her head. The staff connected with brutal force. The copy crumpled. Light-filled etchings appeared on the walls as both opponents and the remaining silhouette dissipated magically.
Trial room 1 complete. Move on to next trial.
No, let us out.
Aris looked around the empty chamber and cursed the Chalice Order with every profanity he knew.
Congratulations, Aris. But the next one will be more challenging, though I'm sure my potion recipes will help you greatly.
You're that blood freak, the one who left those notes in the alchemy room. You work for the High Priestess. Contact them, get us out.
No. I'm not working for her. I work with her to satisfy my needs, and I won't deliver such a promising subject to them just so they can expel you because of some small misfortune, or worse.
What do you mean worse?
But the voice had gone silent. A passage opened in the far wall, the only way forward. Aris gathered Sliver's floating form and walked into the darkness. Chapter 28, The Breaking Point. Date 30/30/80, second quarter. Chalice Theocracy. Aris once again charged his spells to their fullest, preparing to cast Featherfall to carry Sliver forward. But her eye pupils were moving right and left beneath closed lids, darting frantically like she was trapped in a nightmare. He checked her heartbeat. The rhythm was off, skipping beats, but it was there. Aris didn't know what to do. He pulled out another health potion and was about to administer it when the voice cut through.
What?
Don't give her another. There will be no effect other than choking hazard. Just finish the dungeon and give her to the Academy officials. If you win and she survives, she won't be kicked out. Kira can heal her.
Aris cast Featherfall on Sliver and rushed toward the next room, her body drifting behind him like a pale ghost. To reach the next chamber, Aris passed through dark, moldy tunnels. The walls wept moisture and strange fungi pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that made the shadows dance. After 5 minutes of walking, he reached the new room. 4 figures waited at the back, silhouettes in shadow. The room's aesthetic was almost the same as before, but this time the ring was twice the size, wide enough for multiple combatants to maneuver without crowding.
No.
But 2 figures already walked up to the stage. They spoke at the same time, voices overlapping in perfect synchronization.
When 1 2v2 duel to advance.
No, I am alone. Come one by one.
But the figures didn't answer.
Of course, why would stupid Chalice be considerate? You might lose your companions or they attack you and die to an earthquake. Fucking idiots.
Aris sighed and looked at his potions. He downed another mixed stat potion and felt the familiar surge of power through his body. He still had another force and manifest potion and 2 resistance potions remaining.
If this goes like this, the last room should be a 3v3 fight. I should keep 1 resistance potion for there.
He poured Reflect Potion on his shield, watching the surface shimmer with defensive magic. Then he readied the Unstable Potion to throw. The unstable potions were basically grenades, but he had no idea how strong they were at Tier 3. He took his place at the ring. The duo had already revealed themselves. One was a copy of number 7 Templar Fey Sliver's right-hand man Thulek. The other was rank 6 Seafolk Azure. But she'd been copied to a human form. Aris cast Radiant Convergence. The sphere of light manifested above the staff, ready to attack. Azure started blasting frozen balls at Aris, while Tholak lunged forward, closing the distance with practiced efficiency. Aris expected that, but he had no idea how to fight 2v1.
This is not fair.
He tanked the ice balls. 2 of them reflected back at Azure from his enchanted shield, but she easily dodged them and produced new ones. Tholak had already reached him, circling to force Aris between them both. Aris fended off Thulak's shield bash, but couldn't escape Azure's new frozen ball attack to his back. Cold exploded across his spine, numbing his lower body for a crucial second. Before he could turn to Azure, Tholak swung his sword through the opening and grazed Aris's shield-holding hand. Blood welled from the wound, but Aris kept his composure and both concentration spells active. He sent a mixed wave of radiant flare and light missiles, blinding and hurting Thulak. But Azure was charging a new spell, while Aris occupied himself with the Templar. She produced a giant ice ball. The sphere was massive, larger than Aris's torso, spinning with compressed cold that made the air fog around it.
There is no way she can send that with good momentum at me.
But she did. The giant ice rock came at Aris with huge force. Aris raised his shield and tried to block it, but the rock slammed into him with the weight of a boulder, sliding him across the ring and beyond its boundary. Aris had lost the match. The duo beamed out from the ring, their forms dissolving. The other 2 entered the ring immediately.
Last chance.
What if I lose this one too? Will they take us?
And Motto waits, calm.
Hey, I'm talking to you. If I lose this too, will they take us?
If you don't enter the arena, they will attack you outside of it. And if you lose once again, that means your whole squad is ineligible to advance in Chalice. You saw how they treat their own. How much will they care to take you outside as failed students?
Fuck you. Fuck this academy. Once I am out, I am leaving this school.
Then who will protect Lyra? Bring her memories back.
Aris felt like cold water had been dumped over him. All his blood seemed to drain from his face. How would this voice know about Lyra? Had he told anyone? He thought frantically through every conversation.
Sorry. I didn't want to make you afraid. I didn't tell anyone. In fact, if you win, I can tip you the other relic's location you need, the one the engineers call Lock.
Aris gulped. He didn't want to continue shouting about Lyra and her condition for whoever might be listening. He stepped back into the ring, his eyes filled with cold rage. The remaining 2 figures stepped onto the stage. They must be rank 4 and 5, Aris thought. A rank 5 human priest mage and a rank 4 fey priest mage. They wouldn't act together in real life, and here they should collide from their conflicting magic styles. Aris's boots hit the glowing circle again, the ring sealing with a thrum that vibrated through his bones. 2 opponents stood opposite him, both priest mages. Their hands were already wreathed in opposing lights, gold and violet. The human moved first, drawing sigils mid-air that burst into radiant chains, snapping toward Aris like whips. He rolled sideways, dodging the first, but the second wrapped around his leg and seared through his armor. Pain lanced up through his thigh.
Not this time.
He slammed his hand to the floor, invoking Radiant Convergence. The sphere of light flared to life, flinging the chains apart. Flares and missiles shot out like a storm, slamming into both casters. The Fae retaliated instantly. Shadow light rippled from his hands, merging into a pulsing dome that swallowed half the arena. Inside it, gravity bent wrong. Aris's body dragged sideways, his light flickering unstable. Aris gritted his teeth and hurled an unstable potion into the darkness. The explosion tore through the dome, scattering the shadows and flinging both mages backward. Stone shrapnel flew everywhere, and the shockwave nearly knocked Aris off his feet. Smoke filled the air. Aris leapt through it, shield glowing with reflected light, and struck the human's barrier dead on. The reflection potion flared, and the priest's own holy burst rebounded, blinding him. The Fae recovered fast, chanting a Tier 3 incantation. A spear of lightning energy formed and launched straight at Aris.
Holy defense.
He deflected the flash. The colliding energies met mid-air with a deafening crack. The impact blasted him off his feet, but the reflected spell hit his opponent. He hit the ground hard, but the Fae fell harder. When the smoke cleared, both enemies sprawled unconscious, and Aris stood bleeding, panting, barely upright. Burns and cuts covered his arms. His robes were singed and torn.
File room 2 complete. Move on to next one.
His opponents and the remaining silhouettes disappeared magically. He spat blood and glared at the silent ceiling.
Is that enough for you?
No answer. But in the corner, Sliver's body began shaking uncontrollably. Aris ran over to her, not knowing what to do. Her lips had turned blue, and frost seemed to creep across her skin. Looking around, he saw the giant ice ball from the previous encounter. He broke it in half with the staff, the ice shattering into manageable pieces. He picked Sliver up and placed her on top of the broken flat surface. She stabilized a little from the cold, her shaking subsiding. He cast Featherfall and picked up both her and the ice platform, floating them behind him, like a bizarre stretcher. He started casting Healing Touch to himself to wipe out effects of the fight. While walking with the iceborne Sliver behind him, he began charging his skills for whatever came next.
Fucking hell-shaped school. What was your job here, other than cloning kids to fight for Chalice?
Oh, I used to do much more than that. This closing of portals really took out my joy, so I am experimenting here.
Harris walked deeper into the darkness, wondering what horrors waited in the final trial.